So these are going to be on that same light wire hook from Arex, and these are size 10 for the back. It's pretty small for articulated bug, but I fished with this kid from Georgia, and he fishes these like 6-inch monsters that look like a baby. First time we were fishing, it looked like a baby duck. It was bright yellow, and it was ugly. He did catch the biggest fish of the day, but it was the only fish of the day. I'm going to use for the tail, I'm going to use the MFC's Barred Marabou, and this one's olive and brown. I was tying these the other day and I thought they looked really good. So we're going to stick with it. Better start with my hook or thread on the hook. But I was fishing that little olive streamer and I caught like 6 really nice brown trout and a couple of rainbows. So I felt pretty good about the day. Mine didn't look like a baby duck. Short tail fibers. I'm going to use those again for the body. Just so I don't have to trim off the stuff. And then we're going to use some Pearl Chenille Large and Root Beer. Tie in that little core. You can strip off some fibers or just tie that sucker down. This one you want to try and avoid crowding the eye and just do touching wraps. I try to use as little material as I can with some of these because some material if you use too much, it takes away from the material. Like one material I really like is a straddle string from Semperfli, but if you make it too bulky, it just doesn't do anything for you. It's better, I think, if you leave it wispy and then let the material do its work. So we're going to tie in a little wing on this. I'll spin my thread so I can get it going the right direction. I couldn't tell you who's the originator of this type of fly. I mean, these articulated streamers, they're all pretty much just a different variation of adding whatever material you want in, altering the head, adding in rubber legs. I don't use very many rubber legs, although I guess I'm going to put some in on this one, I think. Yeah. Head cement. That's why I really like, if your needle is smaller on the new bottles, that's going to be a little different. Because I like the size of the head of these guys' head cement because I can put it right where I want it. I used to have to use my bodkin and then I pick it all out. What do you guys like to use for your attachment material for your articulations?
Senyo wire.
You're a Senyo's wire guy? Anybody else? Anybody tie articulated flies? Little guy? No articulated device?
What do you send your picture? Where do you get it?
These are just little beads from, I'm sure that these came from Hobby Lobby. They're a little gold metallic one, but this little assortment has like some glass ones in there that I can use for a, I have a little, what are they? Bluegill bug that I tie that's just like chenille and a glass bead. It works fantastic. That's my daughter's favorite fish, that and rainbows. I use just some light backing for mine. I like the way that it swims. I like that it's not stiff. The only complicated problem with it is if you've gotten head cement in your eye, or if you have flash sticking through there. That's usually not stiff enough to push up through there. And I usually thread mine through, pull it back so I can open back up that eye, and then I can usually stuff it back through there. And then I fold mine over, leave a loop in the back.
Put it up by the mice.
And then make sure that the government doesn't get that, because now it has my DNA on it.
So essentially, you girth hitch it around the eye, though.
Yeah. I don't like wire because I don't like that little loop in the back. I mean, obviously it works because other people use it and know a lot more than I do. So then it's just tied on there and tied around the eye of the hook, and then the beads sit on there. And this is the size 8. I didn't used to use very many dumbbell eyes, but apparently with my streamer tying, I've gotten into a little more dumbbell eyes. The pulling mill makes a tungsten one that I really like, but the paint comes off just as easy as the brass ones, so might as well just go with brass. But these are little brass eyes. Figure eighting around the eyes, and then I like to wrap around the inside, and then I flip it. You know why you flip the eye? So the eye is the direction you want your hooks going. So if it's on top, you want it to ride inverted. If it's on the bottom, you want the hooks to ride hook down. So with the backing split like that, what I like to do is stuff this little sucker in the back of here, if I can get my fingers to work. Make sure that those two pieces of backing are going the same way, that they're not twisted up. And then I can adjust the length from there. Tie it down. I probably leave a little more swinging room in the back than most people. And I feed those back through the eye for a little extra security, so that trailer doesn't come off. Most of my fish eat that back hook. The other thing I like about the backing is once I tie it on there, you can do that with wire too, but it doesn't build up as much material. You can figure eight around that backing, and it gets super tight in there. And it also helps secure your eyes. This little thing in the back is a vice pond from Loon. I thought it was a weird little addition, but it will hold your hook back there.
Pretty sweet, aren't they?
Yeah,
It's the simplest thing.
yeah. It's odd how simple they are, and then
So it's a magnet?
yeah.
Yes, just a little magnet.
I was tying with that same kid at Georgia, and he'd left all of his material at home for this tying event, and so I let him borrow some marabou, and he just took a big clump of it and like tied it all in there, and then threw away all the parts that he didn't use. And I'm like, man, you left like half that feather in there. So I took it out of the trash. I'm like, I'm not gonna let you borrow material if you're just gonna waste it.
Typical flight. Throw anything away.
So then I had a little extra tail in the back just to kind of cover up the ends. I don't want that super long, and these are like light feathers. And so if you just take those by the back, find the ones that you like the length of, pull them off with your finger. Once they're tied in there, it'll give it a more natural look than if you just cut it. We're gonna go back to that same body material. I think I got the hook. Maybe I got the eyes. Busted my thread. Advance your thread back to the eyes. That's where you're going to want to end with the material. And since those eyes take up a pretty good chunk of the hook, you're going to add less material in there than what the back did. I normally add crystal flash in mine, but I like that the body material on this is so flashy, I just don't add it in there. Now we're going to put in some rubber legs. These are just some, you can use whatever kind you want, but these are just some ugly kind of blue and brown, or blue and green, not blue, green and brown rubber legs. So I tie the one side in on top, and I try to get them going off to the side so that the legs are not right on top of each other, and then fold it over and tie it over to the other side. And then I take a figure eight down those rubber legs and tie in the tips in the front. They're long. Usually that vice pond is back there holding the material back, the rubber legs back. There we go again. And this is a Bruiser blend, and it's barf brown.
That's official cut?
Yeah.
You're a cat.
No. Might be from one of those guys' cats. That's how old the bag is. It's the original bag before Hairline took over. They had some pretty different names. Some companies do that, like Semperfly has some. There's a purple Marple, and then these guys had a Cali 420. I think they actually still have that one. Once again, you're preening the fibers so that they're same length. You can get them all going the same direction. We're just going to stack this time instead of spinning a dubbing loop. So I took a little bit smaller version or bunch than the top. And there's people ask me why I don't use my rotating vise, and I'm like, I can flip my vise, this one just fine too. I don't usually use my rotating part of my vise anyways when I use the one that rotates. So you put a little clump in there in the middle and then tie it down. I usually use 3 just to hold it in there. Same thing, clump it and then fold it back. And this is where, like, your placement on the eye of the hook, when you put your bead on, or your cones, dumbbells. When you put your dumbbells in, it's super important, because then it'll determine how much room you have in front of your eye to build up a head and to clump in your dubbing. So then I just build up a thread head up in front of that dubbing. And then I use a lot of these. It doesn't matter which ones, but these ones have a really nice tip, and I can cover up that little teeny, if you don't like it, that little teeny bit of white backing in the front. And there's kind of a discussion about how people use their UV material, if they use it too much. I don't use it very much. I will use it on this fly to get the hair going the way that I want it to go. Because I kind of want this top to be a little 80s hair, like big in the front. And then the bottom, I want it to be a little more greased back, like the 70s, 60s. And then I put a little bit in between the separations on the side, so that the material doesn't go back along the sides. And then I pick this out a little bit, like bottom. I like the length and softness of the material. I'm glad I got the Gary Barnes coming out before, because he just showed up. Oh, this stuff's a little stronger than the sinews. So I like these ones to be a little shorter, just so they're not interfering with the hook. It's a soft enough material that it'll bend back even if a fish grabs it. And I leave this a little long, like a little party in the top, a little mullet, big 80s hair, rocker type. And then the last thing I do is just trim out those, let those dangle. Trim those out. So it ends up being a pretty short articulated fly. I mean, you can get same length regular hook as long as that fly. But it looks to me a little bit more like the length of a bait fish that a fish will eat. Any fish will eat, as opposed to if you're throwing a baby duck, you're going to limit the options of fish that are going to eat that baby duck.